Tonight, some Labrador Innu say racism and threats are on the rise in Happy Valley Goose Bay. We'll have that plus these stories. The RCMP says it's arrested 5 people related to a drug bust in Clarenville, which includes more than 15,000 prescription pills.
As far as we can tell, it's all going to be shut down by next Friday. So we're coming up on it pretty quick.
Staff at Saltwire Printing are worried about the future of the province's largest printing press and everything it prints.
The new generation of Afghans here, they need to know their roots.
The Taliban has banned kite flying in Afghanistan, so the Afghan community here is reviving the tradition.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Peter Cowan. Some Labrador Innu say they're avoiding the town of Happy Valley Goose Bay altogether because of a rise in racism and death threats online. The situation came to a head earlier this week when a suspected arson led to a rally by hundreds of people who say crime has made the town dangerous. Here Now's Heidi Adder reports.
This bar has been in Phelan Wilson's family since the 90s. Now it's been turned into what she believes is the latest example of a growing crime problem here, after an alleged arson she says was foreseeable and preventable.
I respect the RCMP and I'm so thankful for what they do. However, I don't think they're capable to take care of the problems that are here in Goose Bay. I don't think they're capable to handle the complexities that come along with this. I don't have the answers, but I do know that crime is very, very high in this town.
Wilson helped organize a rally in the wake of that fire to protest what people say is rising crime. The RCMP say they're not seeing that increase in their numbers, but residents believe homelessness, drugs, and addiction problems are leading to more break-and-enters, petty thefts, and even unsolved arsons and homicides. Some of them have turned to blaming Labrador Innu. That's led to a rise in violent racism and death threats against Innu online. An Innu man was charged for the arson at the sandbar, but Wilson says this is not a race issue, and racist comments and rhetoric isn't the answer. But the situation is bad enough that a Shajit mother is warning her children to stay away from the town for now.
We don't want retaliation. We don't want Goose Bay to look at the Innu and say, I hate the Innu. Everybody's frustrated. Everybody's going to retaliate, but I don't want our children to see us fighting, because we need to lead by example, not to hurt one another, not to hate one another. I'm so scared somebody's going to get killed.
Millie hopes all governments can come together and work toward a solution. CBC requested an interview with the Minister of Justice and Public Safety, but so far that hasn't happened. Heidi Adder, CBC News, Happy Valley, Goose Bay.
Police have made a significant drug bust in the Clarenville area. Today, they took the opportunity to show off drugs, guns, illegal cigarettes, and cash seized by officers. A collection they say is worth a lot of money on the streets. Here Now's Heather Gillis reports.
It's taken police 11 months to seize all of this in Operation Barcode. 15,000 pills, suspected fentanyl with some oxycodone, methamphetamine and hydromorphone, 1,600 grams of coke, 98% pure, weed, hash. There's almost $500,000 in cash and 12 guns. 1 loaded, the rest not properly stored. There are 650 60 ounces of contraband liquor, 3 trucks, and then these 2 trailers full of 3.5 million illegal cigarettes. RCMP Superintendent Keith McKinnon says the drugs are from out of province, arriving on a Marine Atlantic ferry. He calls the bust significant.
I can say that a seizure of, for example, in excess of $450,000 is a lot of money. And people with that amount of money on hand are obviously in a middle to high tier of organized crime. And that's what we're dealing with here.
McKinnon says they busted a local organized crime ring on August 9th. Police say they raided 5 properties at the same time in Bunyan's Cove, Bloomfield, Terra Nova, and Charlottetown. 1 suspect fled. Police stopped his vehicle on the highway near Bloomfield and said he threw away some of the drugs. This officer, 5-year-old police service dog Marlowe, got to work.
She was able to locate a quantity of drugs, some firearms, as well as some cash that had been in a few hidden locations that
we unfortunately wouldn't have been able to find, but luckily for us, she can see things that we can't.
There have been 5 arrested and released, and police are waiting for the lab to confirm how much fentanyl is in these pills.
What you see before you is a large amount of addiction, a lot of lives saved, honestly.
The Clarenville mayor is happy to see drugs off the street in his town.
You know, hopefully that will make our community now a little bit safer.
Police say they will charge those arrested with drug trafficking, firearms, and liquor offenses.
Police aren't identifying those arrested because they haven't yet laid charges. Heather Gillis, CBC News, Clarenville.
The RCMP has upgraded murder charges against a Mount Pearl teenager to first-degree murder. The boy is accused of killing a 65-year-old woman last August in her home in Mount Pearl. He was 14 at the time. Police have said the victim and the boy knew each other but have not disclosed the nature of their relationship. Police had initially charged him with second-degree murder. Now, a year later, they say after more investigation, they've changed that to first-degree murder. The Crown says it will seek an adult sentence. The chair of Memorial University's Board of Regents, Glenn Barnes, has resigned. The university says Barnes' resignation is connected to a review earlier this week. Barnes forwarded an alumnus's pro-Palestinian campaign email to her father, and it was determined that forwarding that email broke the board's code of conduct. Board chair Anik Rahman will now take over until a new chair is appointed. Well, the impending sale of the Telegram newspaper to Post Media has thrown the future of the province's largest printing press into doubt. Post Media will be taking over the Telegram and editorial staff, but not Saltwire's printing or the printing press staff. The Unifor staff working there are worried that they'll be out of a job next Friday, but nothing's official. The press prints more than just the Telegram, and the situation could pose a problem for anyone else who uses the press.
All kinds of things, brochures, calendars, maps for national parks and the East Coast Trail Association, calendars that local photographers showcase their art, business directories, the buy and sell, Newfoundland Quarterly. I mean, the list goes on and on. Tickets, all different sizes and scales and quantities. It's pretty broad what we do. I think people would be surprised with how much of what they read comes out of this building.
Well, Metro Bus is introducing a new transit code of conduct for passengers. It says with a dramatic increase in ridership over the past several months, there has also been an increase in disrespectful behavior. The new code of conduct prohibits threats, profanity, and discrimination, and local security will be on board to enforce the new code. Failure to follow the rules could have a rider suspended from Metrobus. Quadra Brothers is doing damage control tonight, trying to fix the reputation of its crab processing operations in Bay de Verde. The company is accused of trying to sell rotten crab earlier this year, and they're charged with moving and processing dead snow crab. But Quadra Brothers says they've got nothing to hide, and they tried to sell that message to the media this week. The CBC's Jenna Head reports.
On the last day of the crab processing season, Robin Quinlan brought media on a tour of his company's processing plant in Bay de Verde. Quinlan said the goal of the tour was to be transparent and defend the quality of his product.
And on this day, the staff, production employees of Quinlan Brothers Limited want to offer 100% transparency in what we do, the people who do it, and most importantly, how well they do it. Now, the people in that plant today are the same people that were here in May and June when the 2 incidents occurred here, and we had visitors from DFA and inspectors. So I encourage all of you, speak to those people. Address the misleading statements that have been made against them. Video whatever you want and take pictures of whatever you want.
Quinlan says it was just like any other day at the plant, but in an unconventional move, Pilot Communications tagged along on the tour, and in a room full of journalists, took the lead in interviewing some of the plant's staff.
We did nothing wrong. We follow protocol like we do every time. From the day we open till the day we close, our processes don't change, no matter if the crab, what the situation of the crab is like. It's their job to pick it out if there's any TDU at any time, at any part in this plant. Everybody here can take a crab and say this is not acceptable and put it down for the off-ball, and there's no questions, because that's how we train them. I'm here 37 years, and that's why I'm here 37 years, because that's how we do it.
In May and June, the Department of Fisheries visited the plant for a surprise inspection. They claimed crab was dead before processing and deemed some of Quinlan's catch unfit for the market. Then they dumped 52,000 pounds of crab.
Now this right here is an exact replica of what 2,100 boxes or 52,000 pounds of snow crab looks like when it's thrown in a hole. Now these boxes are not stacked neatly, but this is a representation of the aerial photographs that you guys were given that show exactly what's in the landfill.
For Robin Quinlan, the issue comes down to the provincial inspections, but he says his company will answer to the charges it's facing and will continue to provide a good quality crab in 2025.
Firstly, when we had invitations from the inspectors or inspections from the DFA inspectors, we were of a difference of opinion. There was significant difference in the results that had from the grading between their results and IDG's results. We made a decision. We consulted. We, to this table here, consulted on what we thought was best. And we decided to process the product. And for that, we were charged. And to those charges, we will answer.
Jenna Head, CBC News, Beta Verde.
People in Port-au-Port say their cemetery committee has overstepped its boundaries by taking personal items from grave sites and dumping them in the trash. The committee removed all of the mementos in the cemetery earlier this month because it says people weren't following the rules. The CBC's Sanuda Ranawake has the details.
Benches, flowers, solar lights, and angels. These are the kinds of belongings that disappeared from the grave sites here. Kelly Hickey, who has family buried here, says the committee has been warning her for years they don't allow any objects in the cemetery. But she was still surprised when they removed everything.
I find such disrespect from one end to the other. It's just astonishing. Like, I don't know how anybody could find the heart to do what they did here.
She says the committee dumped this pile of keepsakes behind the cemetery. The committee, though, denies that, saying they took everything to the dump. But Hickey doesn't believe them.
Because so many statues are broken, so many lights were crushed. I mean, I'm just so lucky Dad's light, bless his heart, it's still in one piece. So I think it's just an angel. Just let me know that I'm on the right path and fighting for them.
The graveyard is run by the cemetery committee for Maria Regina Parish, the church that owns the land. And they say the residents have been ignoring the cemetery's rules about what is allowed at each gravesite for years.
It was getting to be a problem with so much, I guess, things being added to graves that it was interfering with mowing the grass, that we decided that we would just bring the graveyard up to the regulation standard, and some people were opposed to that. A lot of people were.
In July, the committee posted a notice in the church bulletin and started removing items in August. They say the notice they provided was adequate, but Hickey and others say it should have been done more publicly, and say they want to be included in the decision-making process. Sanuda Ranawake, CBC News, Port-au-Port East.
Advanced poll voting in the Waterford Valley by-election is now open. People in the district can cast their ballot until 8 p.m. at Beaconsfield Junior High in St. John's. Nicole Boland is running for the NDP, Jamie Korab for the Liberals, and Jesse Wilkins for the PCs. Election day is next Thursday, August the 22nd. Well, speaking of politics, former PCMHA Kevin Parsons has died. Parsons was first elected as an MHA for Cape St. Francis in 2008. He served the area until 2021 when he retired to spend more time with his family. Before serving as an MHA, he also worked, or while serving as an MHA, he worked as a parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Business, Tourism, Culture and Rural Development, and he was also the mayor of Flat Rock. In St. John's today, people of all ages came together to fly kites. It's the city's first Afghan kite festival, a tradition that's banned in Taliban-controlled Afghanistan. The CBC's Ariana Gomez reports.
This doesn't happen in Afghanistan anymore. Food, dancing, and kites, a tradition the Taliban banned when they took over the country. But today in St. John's, the Afghan community was able to hold a vibrant kite festival.
In Afghanistan, kite is not just a game. It's a cultural game. We can usually send a lot of message with the kite into the sky. So usually we try to write something on the kite and use different color to respect diversity and different culture and this kind of thing. When I see Afghan kite in the St. John's sky, it was so good and emotional for me.
The event was organized by the Association for New Canadians. Besides the traditional dance and music, these fluttering designs can carry personal sentiments.
We have different messages on the kite, but they are related to the things that I mentioned. For example, send a thanks for the St. John's people for their hospitality, and send a message for intercultural communication, making network between the community, and also a lot of kite made by girls, written that let Afghan girls to educate because they are not alone now, I know.
Traditional Afghan dances like Attan and Karsak brought a special end to the event. One performer says festivals like this one is an opportunity to bring diverse cultures under one roof.
Sharing all of this with our new home here in St. John's was really exciting. It was the first time we had this celebration, all of the Afghans and other communities coming together and celebrating it. It shows that the community is building here, the community is making this place their home, but also sharing their culture with their new communities. So we don't have just Afghans here. As you can see, we've got different ethnicities that ANC has brought in here together, and we're just sharing our culture and our tradition with our new home here in St. John's.
Members of the Afghan community say this celebration is more than an event. They say it's an expression of unity and freedom that many in Afghanistan still don't get to enjoy. Ariana Gomez, CBC News, St. John's.
While all eyes are on Hurricane Ernesto, the potential is there for us to see some effects from this storm as we head into the beginning of next week. I'll get into all the details coming up.
Well, Ashley, you're busy these days on Hurricane Watch, keeping an eye, because of course everyone wants to know the big question with Ernesto, like, will it come here? But to me, it seems early in the season. Normally, I don't think about hurricanes in August.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's not unheard of. We've certainly seen hurricanes earlier in the season in August, for example, but the ocean temperatures really they do peak in September. So that's typically when we do see it. But for now, we are talking about Ernesto and the potential impacts. Let's take a look at what is happening right now. So we have a Category 1 hurricane at the moment. Winds are topping out at about 165 kilometers per hour. And right now, the system is moving north at about 23 kilometers per hour. So over the coming days, it is going to basically head towards Bermuda, expecting the hurricane to be a Category 2, maybe even a Category 3 hurricane by then, with winds topping out anywhere from 160 to 175 kilometers per hour. Then it is going to make the turn into Atlantic waters. Now, it is going to encounter some colder water, certainly colder than what it is in right now. But that time frame for that turn will be as we head into Monday evening, essentially, and early Tuesday. Still approaching, it looks like, the island as we head into Monday evening as a Category 1. It will potentially transition, which we're going to keep an eye on, to a post-tropical low, and that will be in the Tuesday evening timeframe. By then, winds topping out at about 95 kilometers per hour. So this is what we call the cone of uncertainty. I'm sure you've heard me talk about that a lot, and what that means is the track of the system could be anywhere within that cone. And as you can see, the further away from time we get, the bigger the cone gets. And I put on what we call the spaghetti plots here. That just kind of gives you an idea of what forecast models are saying. And they're all in that cone of uncertainty, but we do have some that are a little bit further towards central areas of the island. And then we've got tracks that are to the south of the island as well. So definitely, there you go. Definitely going to have to keep an eye on this as the forecast track definitely becomes clear. Now, there are a couple of things, a couple of factors steering Ernesto, essentially. We have, there's the system there. We've got a trough of low pressure to the west, a trough of low pressure over the island, and then we've got a ridge of high pressure. This is essentially going to open up a path for Ernesto over the next couple of days. Then going to hitch a ride on the jet stream, and that essentially is going to pull it towards the island. Now, obviously, again, over the coming days, going to have to keep a close eye on this because other than the time frame, there's not a whole lot to talk about because it will completely, ultimately depend on the track. Now, there are a few things that we can do now before the hurricane eventually makes its way into our waters. These are the things we can do. You can use this time right now to prepare your property. So trim trees. If you have any weak limbs or anything like that, that's a good idea to do that. You can make a plan. You can get a kit. But most importantly, stay informed because forecasts, as you know, change quite rapidly. It's certainly going to keep an eye on that, and I will definitely keep you informed. For now, nature's air conditioner kicked in earlier this week. It is back to some nice weather. Central areas of the island seeing temperatures in the 20s. Up across Labrador, same thing. Factor in the humidity, though, over the next couple of days. Certainly, right now, we are seeing a bit of humidity in the air, just a little bit. But over the coming days, as Ernesto continues to track this way as well, we are going to see that humidity climb. So Monday, Tuesday, it is going to feel humid yet again. Tonight, it is going to be quiet weather for the most part, just some cloudy periods up across Labrador. Same thing for the island. Overall, our temperatures are going to be between 10 to 13 degrees, a little warmer though for Happy Valley Goose Bay, 18 degrees overnight. And then as we head into tomorrow, a pretty lovely day. We may see a few showers early in the day though for the northern peninsula, and then some afternoon showers potentially developing as well for the southwest, and same thing for southeastern portions of Labrador. This may be a few rumbles of thunder as well. But really a quiet day, just some showers moving back in by the time we get into Saturday morning for Labrador. So beautiful day for the Shania concert. Temperatures around 23 degrees, 25 for the Humber Valley, but really only onshore flow will keep those temperatures a tad cooler for the south coast. A hot day expected for both Lab City, Happy Valley, well, really Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and west towards the coast, even Mary's Harbor, 26 degrees. I'll get into the long-range forecast coming up a little later.
Thanks, Ashley. The flower carpet event in Brussels has been turned into street art this year, bringing a modern take to a decades-old tradition.
I just wanted to illustrate the diversity of Brussels, the way of all the Hood are communicating together with their own identity, historical language and difference, and make Brussels a whole big, unique city, super dynamic.
The artist used nearly 1 million flowers to carpet the city's historic central square at 70 meters long and 24 meters wide. Impressive. Welcome back to Here and Now. And we want to tell you about some printing presses. Take a look. lot of questions about the future of the Telegram newspaper. The editorial staff are being purchased by Post Media, but the actual printing press isn't part of that sale. So what does the future of this building and the printing press look like? Well, Nathan Roberts works in the printing press and he joins me now. So first of all, explain your job. What do you do in this building?
I'm a pre-press operator, so I'm sort of the first step in production, me and my colleague. And we basically take the files from the customer, from our CSR and sales staff, and we translate that for the presses or the printers or wherever that has to go further in production.
What have you been told about the future of the press operations?
As far as we can tell, it's all going to be shut down by next Friday. So we're coming up on it pretty quick. But that's really all we know. It sounds like the Telegram will finish printing next week as well as everything else.
So everyone knows obviously that the Telegram is printed here. It's, the names on the side of the building, but what are some of the other things that you guys print?
All kinds of things, brochures, calendars, maps for national parks and the East Coast Trail Association, calendars that local photographers showcase their art, business directories, the buy and sell, Newfoundland Quarterly. I mean, the list goes on and on. Tickets, all different sizes and scales and quantities. It's pretty broad what we do. I think people would be surprised with how much of what they read comes out of this building.
So if the Telegram does in fact go online and isn't physically printed anymore, is there still enough work in order to keep you guys busy?
I would think so. We might get some of the flyers that we used to have back. There's certainly enough sheet-fed work to go around. Yeah, I think it's definitely viable.
If no one steps forward to buy the operations and they shut it down, what do you think would be lost?
Oh, well, it's not just the building and the equipment that is sort of a philosophical loss, but one of the best parts of this job is that there's always something new, something interesting, but a lot of times that can come with its own challenges. And that really takes people with experience and creativity and old-fashioned elbow grease to deliver a quality product at the end of the day.
And I guess this is the only printing press that can print sort of large-scale newsprint. There may be other, like smaller-scale things, but I guess it means we wouldn't have that capability anymore.
Yeah, publications like the Shoreline and Northeast Avalon Times, the buy and sell, unfortunately they'll have to look elsewhere if they want to continue printing. And I think that's really unfortunate.
How worried are you and other folks about, obviously not just the future of the operation, you clearly are, care a lot about it, but, your own careers?
Well, I mean, a lot of us have been here for, 3 or 4 decades, so we don't necessarily know how to do anything else. So there's a lot of anxiety, and we're worried that we're going to be on the unemployment line in a couple weeks. But that looks like the way it's going to go. We've been dealing with this whole creditor protection stuff for about 5 months now. So we've sort of had to deal with it in a soft way. But now it's really, the hard truth has come for its due.
So do you think it's viable if someone wanted to step up and take it over, that there's a business here?
Absolutely. I think it's a valuable property. The whole thing. We're a great operation. We always have work. I think someone would do well here.
Well, thanks so much for talking to me and good luck.
Thanks a lot.
Well, the NDP and the union representing those workers has asked the provincial government to step in, but it's unclear if there's any interest. We asked to speak to the Minister of Industry, Energy and Technology, but instead we got a statement saying simply they, quote, continue to monitor the situation involving saltwater. Well, if you're missing the Olympics, there's good news. If you're looking to get a sports fix, hundreds of young athletes are in Bay Roberts this week for the Newfoundland and Labrador Summer Games. Take a look.
So we're in the second half of the week of the 2024 Newfoundland and Labrador Summer Games. These were supposed to happen in 2020, but they've got postponed, of course, because of the pandemic. And, the first half went extremely well, and all of the athletes went home the day before yesterday, and a new group of close to 700 back in yesterday, and we're just getting started here this morning now with some sporting events.
We're all here playing soccer and watching soccer at the summer games.
Yeah, we're here playing. We're gonna watch a couple other sports. It's only the first day. We have 3. We're sleeping at the school, eating good food, and here playing a sport that we all love.
I just love playing the sport, being with all my friends, and just love because when we're all playing, we all love the game, and it's a great time.
You see a camaraderie amongst them after probably playing a tight match where they were sort of going for that goal and going hard. So the ripple effect of that for us is the strength of character that you develop when you have a disappointment, overcoming adversity, the idea of teamwork and team play. There's so many intangibles, things that you can't touch that come from sport.
It's something that you only get a chance to do once based on the summer game cycle and the age of kids that participate. So the mere fact that they get to play it all is amazing. The fact that we're hosting it in our home community is icing on the cake. Everyone's friends and family can come watch. Like, they've got a lot of supporters, a lot of home support. I think they're really looking forward to it. I hope they take away that sports is something that creates friendships that last for life. And it doesn't matter if you win or you lose. At the end of the day, if you had fun and you made new friends and you enjoyed the experience, that's really what matters.
Crab and lobster fishermen in southwestern New Brunswick are testing a new kind of trap. The ropeless on-demand gear could allow them to continue fishing even when there are closures because of whale sightings. So far, tests of the new gear have been successful. Take a look.
We're going out to trial some on-demand gear for a project that we have, looking for an opportunity for the fishermen to have on-demand gear that will work for them in case of a whale closure, or if the government decides to mandate that everyone has to have like on-demand gear type in order to protect the whales and other marine life. It has been tried in other areas, but we needed to try it here because the Bay of Fundy has the highest tides and strongest currents, so we need to ensure that the gear will work here, and if modifications are required, that there's time for our fishermen to give feedback so the developers can modify the gear so that it will work for them here.
There it is. I think it's very important for harvesters to get their hands on this gear and see it working on their vessel that they will be fishing on. If we just came out here and gave them a system that they had never seen before and never used and told them to go fish with it, I think it would be very invaluable. And having us come on here and take a week to show them all the different kinds of systems that we have and how they work, I think provides a really great relationship, and it breaks the barriers between some stigmas that are out there with on-demand gear. And it's one of those things that until you try it, you might be a little reluctant to it and hesitant to use it.
In the normal fishing practices, the gear has an end line on each end. Say it's a 10-trap trawl, then there would be an end line on each end that goes to the surface attached to a buoy so they can find the gear. With the on-demand gear, that will do away with the need for those end lines. It will be attached to the end of the trap. The ropes will be coiled up within the box that the gear is in, and it will only activate when the fisherman goes to it and activates it, and then the buoy or the bag will pop up with the end lines that they can pull aboard quickly to get their traps on board again. Once this gear is tested, if it works well, will lessen the incidence of lost gear, as well as very much lessen the incidence of whale entanglement or any other marine life being harmed, and definitely lessening the chance of additional ghost gear being placed in the ocean.
This on-demand gear is a way to help fishermen keep fishing in a closure when there's a North Atlantic right whale sighted and that fishing area is closed down. We certainly don't want to see fishermen lose their livelihoods. It's a very important industry in Atlantic Canada. At the end of the day, it helps the fishermen and it helps the whales, and that's what we're all about.
We've had closures that lasted a month during our peak time, and with this gear, I should be able to fish during that peak time. I was skeptical, and last year when they loaned me some gear, I told them I was going to put it in places that I didn't think it would work, and it did work. It wasn't as easy as just our traditional way to get it back, but I think we did get it to come up most of the time. Yeah.
There it is.
I think there is, a misconception and maybe a lack of trust that once we start using it just during the closed areas, it'll work into, even when it's not closed, well, no, now you're still going to have to use it. And there is that fear of that.
A new round of talks is underway in Qatar, aiming to bring a ceasefire to the war in Gaza and the return of Israeli hostages. Representatives from the U.S., Israel, Egypt, and Qatar are meeting. However, Hamas is not directly involved. Journalist Sarah Coates has the latest from Tel Aviv.
Hamas earlier came out to say that it's not going to negotiate just to negotiate, also accusing the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of adding new conditions. Now, Netanyahu's office swiftly replied to that, saying that these are actually necessary clarifications. Now, one of the main sticking points that we've been seeing time and time again, of course, is the end to the war. Benjamin Netanyahu says there will be no end to the war until Hamas is completely defeated and it poses no threat once again to Israel. but certainly coming at a very, very critical time here in the region amid a time of heightened tension, not just between Israel and Hamas, but of course between Israel and Hezbollah, and also Israel and Iran.
Both sides need to show compromise. Both sides need to show some leadership here. We are now talking about the implementing details of the deal itself, the smaller gaps that we absolutely believe can be narrowed in terms of how the deal is executed. It's not about a debate in Doha today about the deal itself, the structure of it. It's now about implementing it.
Now, with diplomacy in overdrive, one of Biden's top envoys, Amos Hochstein, he is here in the region. He's been in Tel Aviv, also in Beirut, really trying to calm tensions, hoping that this ceasefire may actually bring down this very dangerous threat in the Middle East.
There's no more time to waste, and there's no more valid excuses from any party for any further delay. The deal would also help enable a diplomatic resolution here in Lebanon, and that would prevent an outbreak of a wider war.
But certainly what we've been seeing on the ground on Thursday is an escalation of rocket fire, drone fire between Israel and also Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, with large fires breaking out in northern Israel, the result of many rockets and drones being sent over, with people in these northern areas told to stay very, very close to shelter. In Tel Aviv, Sarah Coates reporting for CBC News.
Home sales dipped slightly last month despite interest rate cuts, and the average price is down a little bit from a year ago, at least nationally. That's according to the latest from the Canadian Real Estate Association. Sales were down by 0.7% from June, while listings were up by almost 1%. The national average home price was down 0.2% from a year earlier. July's small pullback comes despite the second interest rate cut from the Bank of Canada. Experts say the cuts haven't yet translated into a noticeable bump in sales. Additional rate cuts and pent-up demand are expected to rekindle the housing market next year. Canada's housing market remains tight across the country. One small town in Saskatchewan is offering a bold new incentive to entice newcomers to move there. $30,000 to anyone who builds a house in the community. Alexander Silberman explains.
Tiny Moosomin, Saskatchewan is booming. Growing so quickly, the town is preparing for its population to nearly double. So it's trying a unique strategy to build more housing, giving $30,000 to anyone who builds a home. Any type of housing qualifies. It doesn't matter if it's a single-family home, a basement suite, or apartments. And if it's multi-unit, the builder gets $8,000 for each additional door. The town got its funding from the federal government's Housing Accelerator Fund to try and keep up with its growing population.
We've got a lot happening, and the one thing that's been holding us back lately has been the lack of housing. So we've got people trying to bring new employees in, and there's just no place for them to live.
Moosomin has a diverse economy. There's manufacturing, natural resources nearby like potash, and lots of local businesses opening up. People here say there's no shortage of work. The town has also drawn a lot of newcomers to Canada in recent years, including dozens of families from Ukraine and the Philippines.
It is a huge sense of community here. People are so helpful to each other. There's no problem that we can fix. You know, we want to build a playground, we're going to build a playground. You know, the Filipino community wants to build a basketball court, they're going to build that.
Moosomin is trying to do everything right to be a small town that keeps growing. It's working with all levels of government, opening a new water treatment plant, a daycare, and looking into other housing incentive programs, all part of a plan to keep growing steadily into the future. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Moosomin, Saskatchewan.
People who subscribe to podcasts, music, and other content from the online platform Patreon could be looking at a stiff price increase. Apple plans to start enforcing a significant fee for purchases made on iOS devices. Patreon is recommending content creators pass that expense on to subscribers. The CBC's Anis Haidari reports.
Tech giant Apple wants a share of the monthly fees subscribers pay to content creators using an app called Patreon. Apple's demand, 30%.
I might have a bunch of people who are coming to me through the Apple app, which means I'll have to raise my rates to be able to compensate for that difference, because now Apple's going to be taking a cut of that Patreon.
The fee applies to in-app purchases as of November 4th. Patreon says payments for existing memberships aren't affected. Podcasters like Craig Baird aren't sure how much it'll hurt yet.
It kind of feels like the Apple cost is just being transferred right to me rather than Patreon taking any kind of part of that or trying to compensate for it.
If you don't have an iPhone, you don't have the App Store.
The 30% figure isn't new, applying to most revenue from other apps for years. It's unclear what changed for Patreon, which avoided it. Apple didn't respond to requests for comment, but Apple won recent legal challenges to the fee, and the iPhone market is huge. So experts say companies have to go along with it.
App developers, software companies, platforms like Patreon live in fear that they have to stay on the right side of Apple's line or risk having their business decimated.
We don't have any other choice. App developers don't have any other choice other than to sort of pay these taxes, as you might call them, to the platform owners.
The fee can be avoided if users pay on a computer or Android device. But in a statement, Patreon told CBC News it's not permitted to advise fans away from purchasing within the iOS app. And the company is advising its users to increase their rates.
Norman McLaren.
In the end, creators will have to decide on their own if they want to eat the loss or raise prices. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
Ashley, I know you're a big Shania fan, so you're keeping an eye on that weekend forecast, because I think everyone's heading to those concerts got their finger crossed that it'll be nice for the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, last weekend was great weather-wise, lots of things happening.
There was a bit of rain on Saturday.
Right,
but
except
cleared up by the evening. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, there's lots of other things happening across the province, and it actually looks like a pretty decent weekend for sure. Let's take a look at what's going on as we head into Saturday. So for your evening on Friday, you may see a few showers for the southwestern portion of the island and up across Labrador as well. This may be associated with some... Why are you not going forward? Let me go check on that for a second. But yeah, so for the most part, Friday evening, we are looking at the essentially just the chance of a few showers in. Guys, I don't know why this is not working. Let me see, I'll just manually go through it. There we go. So basically those showers will continue. Northern portions of Labrador will see that as well as we head through the overnight into Saturday morning. And then through the day on Saturday, unfortunately, this is going to be the chance of some showers and potentially even some thunderstorms up across Labrador. And we should stay dry at least until Saturday evening for the island. Overall, temperatures will sit into the 20s. And up across Labrador, we're generally looking at temperatures, you know, in the mid to upper 20s as well, except single digits, the story for Nain. And then as we look into Saturday evening and Sunday, we're basically going to see the chance of showers continue up across Labrador. Most of the island will stay dry. We'll just see some showers for the northern peninsula. Clouds will be on the increase, though, especially as we head into the evening, and we'll maybe see a few showers develop for central areas of the island as well. Again, temperatures are going to really start to warm up for the day. Different story, though, for Labrador, where you will see your temperatures dip, and that will be the story for the northern peninsula as well. Overall, we are looking again at the potential for Hurricane Ernesto as we get into the beginning of next week. Really hard to pin down exactly what's going to happen, but right now there's rain in the forecast with temperatures, humid air moving in as well, but temperatures will be in the mid to upper 20s. And then for central Newfoundland, rain the story again for Monday, Tuesday. Similar temperatures, anywhere from 23 to 26 degrees through the afternoon. And then for eastern Labrador, you are looking at the chance of some showers really through the beginning of next week, and a bit of a roller coaster in temperatures as well. Our weather photo for the day is a great photo. Walter shared this one with us of a cruise ship in Corner Brook. Thank you so much for that photo. The Emerald Princess is the name of that ship. And we've been getting lots of cruise ship photos lately, but this is certainly a great one. If you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, you can share them to my Facebook page or email them to nophotos@cbc.ca.
Yeah, there was another cruise ship in St. John's as well today.
Yep.
So yeah, lots of busy times as
Visitors.
all those, just really release all the tourists at once. So you can usually tell when a cruise ship's in town because there's a lot of people looking around, looking at maps or on their phone trying to figure out where they're going. But at least we've got some nice weather for them.
It's going to be beautiful.
Because I always feel badly when they show up and then it's, you know, you've got one day in town and it's raining and you kind of feel like you have to go and apologize to them all. But hey, we've laid on some nice weather.
Exactly.
And that's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.